Hello everyone, welcome back to this video series on how to make an aircraft in Autodesk Fusion 360. So before we start this video, I just want to say that I've spent a lot of time, resources to make these tutorials absolutely free of cost. So if you are enjoying these and they are helping you out, please do like, comment and subscribe. It will really help me out. And if you'd like to take the support a step further, I will possibly be opening a Patreon account where you can either make a one-time donation or a monthly donation, and that way I will also give you access to more resources than what are available in these free sessions. So that those could include one-on-one consultations if you want some practice sessions, if you want some help with other things as well. That will be accessible if you sign up for my Patreon. That is still in the works, so if that does happen, I will link it in the description below and you can follow the procedure there. Okay, cool, so let's get started on the video series itself. Okay, so we're really done with the modeling side of this aircraft series. This tutorial will focus more on the outer aesthetics, the graphics, and the liveries of the aircraft that you've designed. Again, this is an optional video, but I really think this is where it all comes together, and then you add a little bit more to it, and it looks absolutely stunning. So highly recommend it. So if you don't know what a livery is basically the look of an aircraft. So it's the paint, the graphics, the logos, etc. that are placed on top of the aircraft. So if we zoom into the Emirates livery, this is a Boeing 787, and here you can see that we've got the UAE flag at the back section over here in the tail. Then we've got Emirates written in English in golden at the front of the fuselage. Then we've got Emirates written in Arabic, and we've got the Emirates logo on the engine as well. And I think in the case of a 787, Boeing also likes to add 787 Dreamliner. Okay, so if we look at Qatar, so these are the A380 and the A320, I believe. And we can see something similar happening. So we've got the logo on the back, we've got Qatar written in the front in a different, in the same color. Then in a different color, we've got Qatar written in Arabic in dark gray, and then we've got a light gray upper fuselage and a whiter lower fuselage. But one of my favorite liveries is actually of Jet Airways, because you can see over here, in this case of a 747, which they never really had. I think this is just a render. But you can see what they've done here is that this at the back we've got this sun logo and the blue tail, and then it sort of becomes a streamline, and as it progresses it sort of becomes more and more yellow. I think it's a really beautiful look, and it's my personal favorite. So you can obviously get inspired from all of these liveries, and this is something that I've done as well. Now, the livery that I'm going to show you for my aircraft is it's pretty simple, kind of on the sleek, elegant side. This is how I like to make all of my products. Again, I would recommend not copying this livery, but use it as an inspiration if you like. So this is a Global 7500 private jet. And so my company's color schemes are black, blue, and white. And so all the products I make are in that color scheme as well. Now, we can see something similar happening here. So the tail has my logo, and then we've got the actual tail as blue. And then we've got these two streamlines. So one is a thicker one and one is a thinner one. Again, it's more on the elegant and sleek side and minimal look of the aircraft. I personally really like the way this one looks. So we can also have a look at the A350, which is an airliner. And here again, we see something similar. So we've got the blue tail, we've got the blue engine, but with a logo on top of it. And if you zoom into the wingtip as well, you can see that there's the logo over there as well. So we can follow something similar here. So in this tutorial, this is exactly what I will be doing. But again, I would say do not copy this design. Just take inspiration from some other airlines, come up with your own design, sketch it out on paper first, and then see if you really like it on paper. Then you can always implement it in Fusion 360. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is actually apply the appearances to the fuselage belly and also the engine section, because we did not do that in the previous video. So fuselage belly, I'm just going to right click on this and click on appearance. And for now, I'm just going to apply a white enamel coat similar to the rest of the fuselage. So that's that done. I will be applying a bluer shade to it later on, but we'll see how that one works. Okay, so for this engine, first of all, we know that that section there is going to be white. So I am going to activate my engine section first. I'm going to go down in my bodies and try and locate where that pylon is. So the pylon is the last one. So I'm going to right click on the pylon body and I'm going to go to appearance. And I'm also going to apply my paint enamel glossy white onto it. There we go. As easy as that. Okay, and the next thing I want to do is apply a blue to my engine casing. So I can drag my blue and add it on top of it. But you can see what it's done here is that it's applied this blue section on top of the entire casing, which is what it's supposed to do. However, I don't want that. I only want the outer surface of this engine casing to be blue. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo my selection. And then I am going to click A again, anywhere. That brings the appearance. And instead of apply to bodies and components, I'm going to select faces only. Then I'm going to drag this on top of the engine casing. And you can see the difference now is that the outside is blue, but the inside is still the default color. Okay, so inside, I want to add a bit of a grayish texture. And this is because if we go to Google and we look at an engine aircraft engine, what you can see is that the blades are black with the leading edge, I believe, having a more of a silver texture. And inside, it's gray. And the very outside of this is more of a silver look. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go back to Fusion. And the first thing I'm going to do is, as faces is selected, I'm going to do a paint enamel glossy on top of that. So if you don't know where to find these are basically right here. So when you open your appearances, you can scroll down into Fusion 360 appearances and you can see a selection of folders. And then you can just go to paint, choose whatever you like. I like my glossy and just choose something from there and just drag and drop it. Okay, good. So now that gray is applied, I now want to add an appearance on this outer ring. Again, so face is selected. I'm going to apply an aluminium polished, which can be found under the metal appearances. So I'm just going to drag that on top of that ring. Good. Now for my engine blades, I want it to be paint, but not glossy. I want it to be a powder coat rough, and I want it to be black. So I'm going to drag that onto, okay, now in this case, I don't want it to be just faces. I want it to be the entire body. So I'm going to reselect my bodies and components. Then I'm going to drag this so that it selects the entire conical section and also the cylinder from the back. Okay, so the cylinder is hard to select, but that's okay. So bring back this guy. Okay, I'm going to apply it to my blade. Now you can see that since I have 22 blades, it's going to be a pain to apply this appearance 22 times. So what I'm going to do instead is escape first. And in my engines folder, you can see that I've got the blade cylinder and all the blades together over here. So I'm just going to select all of those, click on A on my keyboard, and then I'm going to drag this onto any one of the selected ones. And you'll see what it does is it applies it to all of them. And that's how my engine looks now. So if you want to see what this would look like when you render it, you can always go to design and render and see whether you like the look of this aircraft. Okay, so currently I know this is not very detailed. You can always go ahead and refine the color of each of these components. For example, if you want to actually add that silver bit there on the leading edge of each blade, you can go ahead and do that. But I don't want this video to be too lengthy, so I'm just going to leave this for now. But if you want to go ahead and do that, you can do that with the technique that I'm about to show you now. So the technique I'm going to show you now is very similar to what we did in the fuselage details section. We created the sketch of the window on the middle plane, and then we used the split body feature to then split the fuselage body into different bodies. And therefore we got these windows as separate bodies from our fuselage. However, when creating a livery, I don't really want to split my fuselage into different bodies again. I just want to split it into different faces. Meanwhile, Fusion has crashed. There we go. I just want to split it into different faces so that I can use the face feature on my appearance and just apply an appearance onto the face. So alternatively, you could also use your decals. So a decal is basically like a sticker. So if you have already designed your if you've already designed your livery taking into account all the curves of this aircraft, you can just go ahead and import that and do that. I don't really know how to do that, so this is my way of doing it. And this technique that I'm showing you now can also be used for the blades of the engine, as I mentioned. So I'm going to go ahead and activate my fuselage section. And I'm going to hide my wing, horizontal, vertical stabilizer, and also the engine. I also want to activate my fuselage belly. So it won't let me activate both of them, so we can just activate the main one, but hide everything else. Okay. For reference, I also want the vertical stabilizer here, so let's keep that there as well. Now, the reason why I want this is because I'm going to be following a similar livery to my Global 7500 look. And this is basically two streamlines. So one is a thicker one, and then that sort of blends into a thinner streamline. And then we've got a thin streamline that just remains thin throughout. Again, please do not copy this. This is me just showing you the workflow of how I do my liveries. So when you've designed your own, try and implement it in a similar technique. So I'm going to create a new sketch on the right plane. So that's my plane of symmetry. And this time I'm going to use a fit point spline. So I'm going to use this, and somewhere here maybe I'm going to start. So I'm just going to create 3 points. The first one's going to be somewhere here, maybe one here, and maybe one here. Okay, so that's our first spline. Now I want to edit the spline a little bit. So I'm going to click on this green one over there, and then I'm going to click on horizontal vertical. So what this will ensure is that as the streamline comes in, it sort of becomes horizontal as it approaches the nose of the aircraft. I also want to apply, so I'm going to click on this line again, and I'm going to click on the green line, and I'm going to go to horizontal vertical again. Okay, in this case it made it horizontal, which I don't want. However, I think this would also be a really cool look, but I don't want this for now. What I want to do is make this vertical. So if I click on horizontal vertical right now, it's going to make it horizontal. So to ensure that it makes it vertical, I'm just going to click on this and drag one of these points there. Then I'm going to click on the line and do that, and it's going to make it vertical. This is because probably the angle that I was before was less than 45 degrees. So when I said horizontal or vertical, it took into account horizontal only. Okay, then I'm going to move this a little bit over here. So that looks good. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and press on offset, and I'm just going to click on this line, and then I'm going to offset this line. So the problem with this already you can see is that this, while the top section remains thick, the bottom section also remains equally thick. That's the whole point of offsetting. But I don't want that to happen. I want that this is thick on the top, but then as it approaches the nose, it becomes a thinner streamline. So I'm going to cancel the offset, and I'm not going to use the offset feature. I'm just going to save this because it seems like Fusion is not having a good time editing my splines. So fit point spline again, and I'm going to somewhere there maybe click there, again to a similar place and a similar place here. Okay, and now we're going to edit the spline again. So I'm going to click on that green line and click on horizontal vertical. So now we know that the front section is thin. Now if I want this to be a little bit more thinner, I'm just going to press M on my keyboard and move it a little bit up as well. So something like that would do. Okay, and then I want this section here. So just click on that and press horizontal vertical. Again, turn it into horizontal. We don't want that. I'm just going to click on this, make sure it's somewhere there first, and then I can go ahead and make it vertical. Good, so that's exactly what I want. And I'm going to move this a little bit over here. And you can see here that this is not having a happy time yet. So I am going to edit this there. And this one probably needs to come down a little bit so that it follows the curvature well. So just press M on your keyboard and move the point down and see how it reacts then. So maybe you want to edit the tangent of this, and that would work even better. So I'm just going to edit the tangent there and bring back this guy a little bit above. Again, I'm just fine-tuning this. You don't really have to go into this much detail. I really like the aesthetics of a product because I think those are very important. So I pay a lot of attention to those, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, so I'm happy with this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to finish the sketch. And what you can see is we're going to be using these two lines as a reference to split our faces of the fuselage. So what I'm going to do is go to modify, and there's an option of splitting face. So I'm going to split face, and let's start with just the fuselage first. I'm going to click on the main fuselage as my face to split. And the splitting tool that I want to use, if Fusion does not hang, there we go. The splitting tool I want to use is one of these lines. So I'm just going to click on that line there, and I'm going to press OK. And there we go. So that's our first section there. Okay, and now I want to repeat the process for the other line that we created. So I'm going to bring back that sketch that we just made, sketch 24, and I'm going to repeat the process and modify and split face. And this is the face I want to split. And the splitting tool is going to be the second line. And there we go. So if at this point your Fusion starts to hang, don't worry. This is because at this point in our file, we have so many complex features and splines that doesn't really function that well anymore. But that's completely okay. That only works, that it only happens when you do a lot of spline work. Okay, so now what you can see is that if I click on this middle section here, that is its own feature. And that's exactly what we wanted. So what I can do now is just press A on my keyboard to bring back my appearances. I'm going to click on faces, and I'm going to drag my paint on top of this face. And I'm also going to repeat the process for the other side. So I'm just going to drag my thing over here, and there we go. That's our section done. Now, obviously, in the front, it did not take into account the streamline. And this is because, in my case, my nose is different from the body. And so when we go back to my Global 7500, it extends all the way till the nose. So that's exactly what I'm going to do as well. So the way to do that is just repeat the thing. So bring back sketch 24, go to modify, split face, and click on the nose section. And then splitting tool is going to be 1. And let's try both of them this time and see what happens. I guess it's only letting me select one, so that's fine. So I'm just going to press OK there. And now again, modify, split face, the bottom section. And the splitting tool is going to be the bottom line, and press OK. Now if I hide the sketch 24, press A on my keyboard, and select faces, and this is where I want it to be. And there we have it. So that's my first streamline complete. And now I want to create the second streamline, which is just a thin one that sort of adds along to it. I don't know, it just adds a nice feel to the look of the aircraft. So what I'm going to do now is going to create a new sketch on top of this plane. And again, fit point spline, and I'm just going to leave a little bit of space first. Then add a point where it was similarly before, and then just somewhere there. So as always, click on the green line, horizontal vertical, to ensure that it stays horizontal. Here, green line, and then also just drag it there so that now when I click on horizontal vertical, it becomes a vertical line. Okay, so maybe I want it somewhere there, and I'm going to edit the tangent of the middle section so that it follows a similar path to the streamline that we had earlier. So maybe somewhere there. Okay, and now in this case, because the thickness of the streamline is constant, I can now use the offset. So I'm just going to click on this and bring it down a little bit like that. And press OK. Great. So now I'm going to finish the sketch, and we're going to repeat the process. So I'm going to go to modify, split face, and this time the face that I want to split is this one, and also the bottom side of the nose section. So I can click on multiple of these this time. And the splitting tool I want is the first streamline. Okay, go ahead and press OK. Again, we need the second streamline as well, so I'm going to bring back the sketch over there, and then modify, split face. This is the face we want splitting, and that's the face we want splitting. Splitting tool, second streamline, press OK, hide the sketch, and there we go. We have our second streamline. Now you can already notice that the streamline was not added on top of our fuselage belly, and this makes sense because we didn't select that. So if you want to also select that, what you can do is just go back in time. So where you made the split face, just right click on the feature, edit feature. And also when it says faces to split, let's go back to the right side. So the faces to split, we also want to select the airfoil section and also the fuselage belly section. And now if you press OK, you'll see that it's also taken into account the fuselage belly section. Okay, I want to repeat the same thing for the latest one we did. So that would be right-clicking, edit feature, and also selecting our airfoil section of the belly and the belly itself to make sure everything is selected. So I'm going to press OK there, and let's see what happens. Okay, perfect. So that looks really good. So once again, I'm just going to press A and go back to faces and apply my blue on top of that section there. And also, because this is a different face and that's a different face and that's a different face, we want to apply these separately as well. So I'm going to just click on that, and there we go. Okay, good. So currently, obviously, we don't have the fuselage belly over there yet because we're just going to mirror everything. Okay, so I'm going to press escape and press save. Okay, so this is really starting to come together, which is really cool. So I'm just going to bring back all my different components, and this is what the aircraft, half of the aircraft looks like. If you don't like the look of this, you can always go back in time and edit the sketch, and Fusion should automatically change the way your body was split. If it makes some mistakes, just delete the entire split face thing and just repeat the process. It shouldn't take too long. Once you know how to do it, you can just do it forever. Now, when it comes to airlines, I usually leave my fuselage completely white and have everything else have a more of a blue shade. So I might later on just remove these streamlines, but I think it was important to show the mindset behind, if you wanted to do it, this is how you could do it following my workflow. Okay, so one final thing before we do anything else is add the appearance to the backside of the engine. So I'm just going to keep it relatively simple. I'm probably just going to add the gray appearance to all of these, and for faces there we go, and that's it. So this is the moment we've all been waiting for. I know a lot of you have been waiting for me to just mirror the engine and the wing and the horizontal stabilizer, and that's exactly what we're going to do now. So create, mirror, type is going to be components, objects is going to be my fuselage belly, my engine, my horizontal stabilizer, and my wing. And my mirror plane is obviously the plane of symmetry. Press OK, and there we have it. That looks stunning. Okay, so now if we go to design render, so in the render workflow, you'll see that this looks even better because it's now in a perspective mode, the lighting conditions are better, and I just think it looks gorgeous. So in the scene settings, what you can do is, for background, instead of saying solid color, which is default, click on environment, and in the ground section, deselect ground plane if you want it to appear like it's in the sky. Another thing you can do is adjust your camera settings. I'm not going to touch these. I don't have a lot of knowledge about how lenses work, so I'm not going to give you any advice on that. But play around with it and find something that you like. If you want to have a more realistic sort of look of the environment is a sky, what you can do is go to Google and type in HDRI images, because what Fusion can do is it allows you to attach a custom environment, and by doing that it will allow you to import HDR images, so HDRI images. And what this is basically like a dome or a spherical image, and what this allows you to do is when you import it, Fusion will take it as an environment. So what you can always do is go to Google and type in sky clouds HDRI, and you can look for some that are free. If you want to, you can also pay for some of them. I believe this one is a really good one. It's for $50. But obviously, if you're doing this for more professional purposes, I would recommend you go ahead and buy these. But if you're doing this as a hobby and you don't really care that much, you can go and look for some free ones. So this is one that I used in my Airbus A350 video, and I do apologize, I do not remember where I got this HDRI from. I don't even remember if I bought it or if it was for free. I tried really hard looking for it again, I just couldn't find it. But if you do manage to find something that looks good, do leave it in the comments below so other people can also be helped out. Now, in this case, you can see that things are really, really bright in the sky over here, and maybe we can dull it down a slightly bit. So instead of saying 1000 for my brightness, I'm going to try maybe 8000. Oh, sorry, 800, my bad. Maybe even 500. So that looks maybe 650. Okay, let's just go for 650. And I think that looks really good. Now, what you can do is go ahead and render this on the cloud. If you have an education account, then you've got free credits. Alternatively, you could render it on your computer as well. This is not a proper rendering tutorial. You can go ahead and watch some brilliant videos out there on how to render things properly. This was just me showing my workflow and what I would do in the case of a render. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. And if this was beneficial for you, please do leave it in the comments below, and do let me know how you use this tutorial series. It's really beneficial for me to see how you were using my tutorial workflows. This was probably the last video for the aircraft section. I will be making a helicopter video series next, as I got a couple of requests for it. But if you also have a few requests for something, please do let me know. I'm very happy to try something out if I do have the time. And as always, if the Patreon account does open up, I will leave that in the comments and the description below. And if you'd like to make a contribution, that would be lovely. It'll give you access to more resources. And at the same time, if you have a professional or a business inquiry, please do contact me as well. If there's a CAD model you'd like me to make for you, then we can discuss what that's going to look like. So thank you guys for watching. Please do stay in touch, and I'll see you in the next tutorial series, helicopters. All right, guys, you take care.